books that you should read this fall. It's back to school season, the weather's starting to get a little bit chillier. Fall vibes are definitely in full effect. I've already decorated the apartment. I have a big stack of books here, yes, right next to this lit up burning candle. In this video, I have a bunch of books that I think will be perfect to read in the fall, and I've kind of broken them down in different genres and different categories. So we have some mysteries, we have thrillers, we have romance, so let's get into it. Starting off strong, we're gonna start with some mysteries because I love mysteries. As soon as September rolls around, I just put on my little investigator hat and I just want to read mysteries because it's just like the perfect vibe for them. So one book that I read recently and absolutely love, The Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. I didn't care to tab, I didn't care to annotate, I didn't care to do anything. I just wanted to read this book. This is a YA book and it follows our main character Pip, who is a senior in high school, and she's really smart, really nerdy, and she decides for her senior project that she is going to take a look into an old closed case about a murder that happened in her town 5 years ago. There was a super pretty and popular girl at her high school. Her name was Andy Bell, and she goes missing and gets murdered by her boyfriend Sal, then admits to killing her and ends up killing himself. However, the more that she does her research and the more she talks to people and looks more into it, she finds out that a lot of people in this town have a lot of dark secrets and starts to discover little clues that might actually prove that Sal was innocent. Now there's somebody in the town that doesn't want Pip going and snooping around, and now her own life might be in danger. So fast-paced. I literally read this in one day. There's new clues on every single chapter, so it's not one of those thrillers that has like just like one big reveal and the rest is just kind of a story build-up. Like, it is so quick. There's little drawings and maps, and it was like super cool to have those visuals in the book. So I absolutely love this. And if you read that and you love it, this series also has 2 sequels. You don't need to read these if you want. I think you can read them all as kind of like a standalone, but I do have the rest of the series here and I'm hoping to continue it. Staying on theme with the Holly Jackson thriller slash mysteries, we have the reappearance of Rachel Price. This book was so interesting. We have our main character Belle, who is in high school, and she has always kind of lived in the shadow of the mystery that surrounds her mom's disappearance because nobody knows what happened. Nobody really saw anything. Nobody knows anything, and there's no body that has ever been found for 16 years. Now there is a whole film crew trying to do a true crime documentary in her house. They're interviewing her family and everyone that was kind of like involved, and as you'd expect from the title, her mom literally just reappears and everybody has a million questions for her. What happened to her? What went down? But the answers that she's giving are not necessarily adding up. It was like super interesting trying to uncover what actually went down, who you can trust, who you cannot trust, just look at the evidence, and this was super interesting. I was suspicious of literally everybody when I was reading this book, and the ending did get me. I also read this one super fast, so I recommend if you're in the mood for a little murder mystery. The next book that I have to recommend, I don't have the physical copy of it here, but it is The Inheritance Games. That one was very interesting. Basically follows this high school student who doesn't really have a lot of things in life, so she's just trying to work really hard, get good grades, get a scholarship at a good university, and kind of like get her life turned around. All of that changes when she randomly one day gets a mail that she is required to show up somewhere because a random billionaire that she has never met leaves his entire fortune to her. The only catch is that she has to move into the house where he was living in, but his whole family still lives there. There's 4 different grandsons. There's a little bit of like a love triangle. Where this gets interesting is that she doesn't know any of the people in the family. She doesn't know who to trust. She doesn't know who not to trust. And also, the man that left her his whole inheritance, he's a big fan of puzzles and codes and riddles and everything like that. So there's so many of those in the book, and we're trying to figure out, the main character is trying to figure out. So it was like super fun to kind of like get your brain kind of working to see if you can solve the mystery. And if you love that one, there is 4 books in the series, and also I think a little spin-offs. Continuing on, we have the Natural series. I have only read the first one so far and I am obsessed with it. This is also by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, which is the same author as The Inheritance Games, and this is about these kind of like gifted kids that all have like their own special skills. So our main character is really good at just like naturally reading people, so they get chosen by the FBI to come join this program, the Naturals program, where the FBI will basically train them to use their abilities in order to help solve cold cases, which is already right up my alley because I loved Criminal Minds and it kind of has the same vibe. It gets like super interesting, especially when there's a new killer in town and he keeps leaving clues that kind of tie back to the kids that are in this program. I really want to read the rest of the series. I've heard amazing things, that it literally just gets better with every book, so I cannot wait. Staying on theme with the FBI, we have the Mindfuck series. This one is not YA, this is an adult romance, and basically we have a guy, FBI agent, he's a profiler, and he is working on this case, and he meets this girl who is the serial killer, and she is responsible for all of the murders that this guy is trying to track down. So close together, she's trying to continue on with this mission that she has to get revenge on people that have wronged her in the past. Her own boyfriend being an FBI agent trying to track her down. It was so interesting. This can be read as 5 little novellas that are about 100 pages each, or you can buy the whole book as like a paperback, and it's like 600 pages or something. I read it so fast. I mean, literally within a few days I read the entire series. I was obsessed with it. It's definitely a little graphic, it's a little gore, so definitely look into trigger warnings, but it was just like such a captivating story. I was on edge the whole time. I just did not want it to end, but also I wanted it to end so I can figure out how the story is gonna go. She's gonna get caught, she's gonna finish her mission, or what was gonna happen, but it was so good. Perfect for the fall. This book follows the story of Nina, who is this girl that has kind of like struggled her whole life. She can't really get a job, she doesn't really have a place to stay, and she gets offered the job to be a housemaid at this really nice, really bougie, expensive house for this wealthy couple. So she decides to take the job, but first everything is fine. She gets her responsibilities laid out for her. Slowly but surely she starts to discover things that she doesn't really like about her job. For example, the wife always makes messes specifically for her to clean up, is always complaining that she's not doing a really good job. She lies to strangers about her own kid, and she's like a really difficult person to deal with. So she kind of gets wrapped up in this really messy situation, not really able to leave, and by the time that she realizes that her bedroom door only locks from the outside, it's already too late. This was so good, so fast-paced. I read it so freaking quick, and there's a sequel to this. Staying on track with Freida McFadden, we have one of my first thrillers that I read that kind of got me into reading thrillers and mysteries, and that is Never Lie. The story follows newlyweds Ethan and Trisha, and they're looking for their dream house. So they go and visit this remote manor that once belonged to a psychiatrist, Dr. Adrienne Hale, vanished without trail 4 years earlier. So the house is very creepy, but they get stuck there because of a storm. Our main character Trisha is just like looking around trying to find a book to read to keep her occupied until the morning when they can actually like leave, until she stumbles into a secret little hidden room. When she goes to explore said room, she discovers that it has recorded cassette tapes of every single patient the psychiatrist had. She gets intrigued and starts listening to all the cassette tapes, and the more that she listens to, the more she starts to uncover about the mysterious circumstances of the psychiatrist's death. Super fast-paced, very twisty. Freida McFadden always writes these super fast-paced, super entertaining thrillers that always have really big plot twists, especially the epilogues. Her epilogues always have a nice freaking plot twist that always kind of gets you. So I definitely recommend this. Some of my favorite Freida McFadden books are Ward D, The Inmate, Perfect Son. So definitely recommend all of those as well. This next book is called Run on Red, and this one actually scared me so much when I first read it. I think this is perfect for fall because A, it follows college students and it's back to school season. Also, it's obviously very spooky, and we're entering kind of like spooky season, so let's get into it. This follows 2 girls that are friends, and they're kind of headed to this party. The party is set outside of the city in this little like rural area. There's not good signal, there's not really good lighting on the road or anything like that. I just noticed headlights behind them tailing them the entire time. Initially they try to brush it off, and they just think that the person tailing them is just like road raging or something like that and just wants to get past them. But once they notice that the guys in the truck are still following them and not leaving them alone, they start to wonder, who are these people? What do they want? Can we outrun them, and can we outsmart them so we can survive? Because these men are dangerous. Super spooky, super scary. I was at the edge of my seat. I literally could not put this book down because I just needed to know what was gonna happen. The suspense was definitely there. My heart was actually like pounding. Usually with other books, I don't like get actually like really scared because I know that I would never do dumb shit that these characters do that end them up in these like weird situations. And thrillers usually feel kind of like unrealistic and kind of like far-stretched, if that makes sense. But this one was actually so scary. They didn't do anything stupid. These girls were so smart and like taking precautions. So it was just like such a scary story to read, but I do recommend. Another book by the same author that also kind of freaked me out was Ask for Andrea. The reason why this freaked me out is because I had no idea what I was in for. I was expecting this to kind of be a murder mystery. I honestly just picked this up because I finished her other book and loved it and just wanted to read more of her stuff, so I didn't even really read the back. So let's just say I was definitely shocked when at the very first chapter somebody dies. Basically, the story follows 3 different women that have all been murdered by the same guy. Eventually, the 3 ghosts find each other and they decide to start working together, and they basically decide that they're not gonna rest and they're not gonna stop until they find a way to get him to stop killing. This was again very spooky, very interesting. I've never read a book like this, and it definitely gave me that uneasy feeling, but I mean, that's what you're looking for out of a thriller, so I do really like that one. The next thriller that I read is actually the one that got me back into reading as an adult, and this is On a Quiet Street. This basically follows the story of this neighborhood that seems really nice and really preppy, and the neighbors are all close and look out for each other. However, it all gets interesting when Cora thinks that her husband is cheating, so she asks her friend slash neighbor Paige to kind of help catch him in the act. However, Paige is grieving her son who was killed in a hit and run last year, so she's just willing to do whatever, including spying on her neighbors, trying to find proof that her son's death was actually not an accident. And you have another neighbor that is a young mother who is just like acting really weird. She never leaves the house and nobody really knows what her deal is. Over time, everybody's secrets start to get uncovered. Some of them are big secrets, some of them are small secrets, but some of them are deadly secrets, and they all slowly get revealed. So super fun. I rated this 5 stars, and like I said, it's the book that got me back into reading, so give it a chance. The next book that we have here is Local Woman Missing. This one again, it was super fast paced. Shelby's the first to go missing. Then Meredith and her 6-year-old daughter Delilah vanish, just walks away from where Shelby was last seen, striking fear into their once peaceful community. After an elusive search that yields more questions than answers, the case eventually goes cold. Now, 11 years later, Delilah shockingly returns. Everybody wants to know what happens to her, but nobody's prepared for what they'll find. And some people will stop at nothing to keep the truth hidden. Go read this. Next up, we have Butcher and Blackbird, which is book 1 of the series, and this is a dark romantic comedy. So it definitely has really dark themes because both the main characters are serial killers and they work together to try to hunt down the worst of the worst serial killers that are out there, and they have this kind of competition. And it also obviously touches on the romance side of it, where you see the main guy character and the main girl character kind of get feelings for each other and grow from being friends to being lovers. This book definitely has a lot of trigger warnings, and please read them before you go into it. It's literally like 2 pages long. I kind of have mixed feelings about this book because there was parts of it that I enjoyed and then there was parts of it that I didn't love quite as much, but I know a lot of people really love this, so if this seems like your vibe, then I recommend looking into it. I have reading vlogs from a bunch of these books, especially the ones that I've read more recently, so if you're wanting to read the same books as me and you want to see how I felt about them, you can definitely go and search my channel for each of the books. But let's carry on. Now, moving into more romance books, I would love for you to read Part of Your World. This book has my heart. I rated this 5 stars. It is book 1 of a series. This is by Abby Jimenez and I absolutely ate it up. This is an opposites attract, kind of like small town romance. It has themes of found family, which is one of my favorite things about this book, and their story just seemed so realistic. It basically follows the story of Alexis, and she comes from a whole family of surgeons. They're super wealthy, super well known, and she's always lived in the city, like the city wealthy girl, sophisticated kind of lifestyle, and her whole life changes when her car randomly breaks down in this like small little town that nobody has even heard of. That's where the MMC Daniel comes in. He's super sweet, super helpful, really hot, and 10 years younger than her. He's a carpenter in this little town, and they kind of kick it off, spend the night together, and then she goes off back to her old life, and for some reason she just cannot stop going back, and so that's how their romance slowly grows. I just thought the story was super sweet. It had a lot of really important things that he talked about, and I absolutely loved it. This holds a very special place in my heart, and the town where he lives kind of has some interesting things going on. So there's like a very small aspect of magical realism, but it's just kind of like drizzled across the book, and I just thought it was like super sweet, and I love low magical elements in books, so this one is definitely on the list. The next book I don't have the physical copy of, but it is Yours Truly, and is the sequel to this. Yours Truly is a workplace romance. It's about Alexis's best friend, and she works at the hospital, and this new doctor comes in. A lot of people don't really like him. Everybody thinks that he's kind of mean and reserved, and he's not really making any efforts to get to know anybody. However, once you get to his POV, you realize that he actually has some really serious anxiety, specifically social anxiety. I absolutely love reading about it and seeing it get represented so well. I thought their story was so sweet. This is a fake dating trope with both of them not really knowing where the boundaries are, and obviously they both like each other, but then like they're really scared to make a move. They also do write love letters to each other. I'm a sucker for that stuff. We also have to talk about The 7-Year Slip. This is another another magical, mystical, little cute romance. So this book follows the story of Clementine, and she is living in her late aunt's apartment. She randomly one day finds that there's a man in her apartment who apparently had made arrangements with her late aunt that he was gonna be living there for a little bit, just temporarily. So she agrees to let him be her temporary roommate. Let's just say that he's very cute, very handsome, very charming, lots of good energy, until Clementine discovers that he is living in the past, as in literally living 7 years in the past. So she's living in this apartment. The apartment kind of has this low magical element to it that kind of allows you to jump back and forth in time, but it's out of her control. She doesn't know when it's gonna happen next. She doesn't know when she's gonna see him next. So it's this really interesting dynamic of seeing kind of the relationship develop while this is happening. That was such an interesting concept. I've never read anything like it, and I loved it. It was so cute, so sweet, nice little sweet romance. I ate it up. Next book that I have is The Right Move. This is actually book 2 of the Windy City series. I started reading the first one and literally DNF'd it, but I did absolutely love this one. I rated this 5 stars. This follows the story of Ryan and Indy. Ryan is a professional basketball player. He's like super rich, super well known, and he has this problem with trusting people and letting them in. But Indy gets caught up in a situation where she finds her ex of a really long time cheating on her, so she decides to call things off, and she has nowhere to stay. She can't afford to pay the rent. Ryan's sister convinces him to let her move in temporarily until she can kind of get control of her life again. She reluctantly agrees, and that's how we end up getting the roommate trope. So cute, the close proximity, and I absolutely love them as a couple. They're just like so sweet, so considerate. The acts of service in this book are literally unmatched. If you're like an acts of service person, I think you're gonna love this. I just absolutely love the romance. Like, I tabbed so many things, I highlighted so many things. I just really love this. I really recommend this. Ryan is in my top 5 like book boyfriends. Continuing on with more romance, we have King of Wrath and King of Pride by Anna Huang. This is the first 2 books of the King of Sin series, which is her most recent series that she's released, and as you can tell, I loved it. I'm pretty sure every book in this series follows like a billionaire trope, which is one of my favorites, but I think these books are perfect for more of like a fall read. These guys are definitely more on the morally gray side. They definitely have made some questionable choices in the past, and so that's kind of like teetering maybe a little bit towards dark romance, but it kind of has a little bit of like maybe like darker themes. And then of course, this would not be a me video if I didn't recommend the Twisted series. This is one of my first favorite series. This is the first time I read Anna Huang, and I love her writing. Not for everybody. I know a lot of people have had a lot of mixed reviews, but the reason why I think they're perfect for fall is because it follows these 4 best friends that meet in college. They all kind of get their own love story, and then you also get to see cameos of the past couples and the new book, so that has been super fun. My personal favorite was Twisted Games, which is a real life princess and her bodyguard. I absolutely ate this up, so definitely recommend. This stack of books is definitely on the questionable side, so I'm gonna go, but thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you haven't read any of these, let me know which ones and which ones you enjoyed the most. If you have any recommendations for other books that you think me or other people watching this video might want to read, leave that down below, because I'm always looking to add more books to my never-ending TBR. I keep telling myself that I'm supposed to be on a book buying ban, but I feel like every 3 videos that I post, one of them is a haul, so stay tuned for all of that. I also really love to do reading vlogs, so if you're interested in reading any of these books and seeing my reactions, there just might be a video on my channel already of me doing a reading vlog for this. And most of the books that I'm gonna read this fall, I'm probably gonna do a reading vlog for, because they're just like so fun. And that's it for me. Drop a like on this video if you haven't, subscribe if you haven't, because I post every single week, multiple times a week sometimes, and I would love to have you join the fam. We just hit 300 subscribers when I'm filming this, so I'm so excited. So thank you so much for all the love, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.